I really need to get away from work, and Leah really needs to get away from the kids, and I could use a break from the kids too. And we were thinking they could maybe stay with you, you know. That I was thinking that would keep you busy, and they certainly like spending time with you. And
well, when is it that you're needing to take this vacation time?
Well, right, just the end of this month, the end of August.
We've got a little problem here.
We do?
Yeah.
Well, you never go anywhere.
Well, I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah?
I'm going to Israel at the end of the month.
You have just caught a glimpse into our role-playing situation that will be shown to you in a moment. The topic for today is shifting roles with aging parents. Hello, I'm Tema Rosenblum, your host for Jewish Family Forum, and I would like to introduce to you our role players. First, we have Joan Margolis, who will be taking the part of the mother, the parent of Edward Reed. Joan is family life educator for Jewish Family and Community Service, and Ed Reed is an assistant district administrator. We will have the role-playing situation, and I will return in a moment.
Well, Mom, how you been? It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You been getting out?
Well, a little bit now and then with
Yeah?
my friends. Yeah.
I kind of worry. I never have thought you got out, or enough. I really think you should get out more. You know,
Well,
you're up here in this apartment. You got to get out.
I know, but I get out when I want to. It's
Yeah?
fine. It really is.
Well, it's been a while since I've seen you, and I've been pretty busy. Been pretty busy with work and with Leah and the kids, and
I know. I sometimes worry about you. You work very hard.
yeah. But I finally got a chance to take some time off towards the end of this month. I'm gonna take a couple
Really?
weeks and head up to Wisconsin and just relax.
Oh, I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that. That's
Right.
wonderful.
So, I really need to get away from work, and Leah really needs to get away from the kids, and I could use a break from the kids too. And we were thinking they could maybe stay with you, That I was thinking that would keep you busy, and they certainly like spending time with you. And
Well, when is it that you're needing to take this vacation time?
well, right, just the end of this month, the end of August.
We've got a little problem here.
We do?
Yeah.
Well, you never go anywhere.
Well, I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah?
I'm going to Israel at the end of the month.
You are going to Israel?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, Mom. How are you going to get to Israel?
Well, I'm going with the temple. It's a planned tour, and I booked it a month ago.
Mom, you never go around the block.
I know, but you've been encouraging me to do it, and now I'm doing
I
it.
can't believe this. What? It's great for you, but now what am I going to do?
Well, maybe I should go another time. There'll be other tours. I'll try another time. Because I really want you to go with the kids.
No,
you
Mom,
really
I
need
think,
a rest.
no. You take your trip. You don't get out enough. Come on. We'll make other arrangements with the kids.
Well,
Susan and Joe, they can take the kids for a while.
I
Come on.
don't know about that. They really need to be with their grandmother.
But Mom, Israel, you've been telling me to go to Israel all these years, and I haven't gone yet. Here, you've got the chance. You should go.
Well, let's see. Maybe you need to talk to Leah, and I need to find out if there's another time I can go.
Well, okay, we'll think about it. All right? I really want to get away, but I know you need to go. Let's think it. Let me go talk to Leah about it. We'll think about it.
Oh,
All right?
yes.
Okay.
Almost everyone has had an experience or will have an experience in dealing with and relating to aging parents. That doesn't mean that we're neglecting the opposite just because our title is Shifting Roles with Aging Parents. We will be talking about the aspect of the older parent dealing with the adult child. And please stay tuned with us because we have different perspectives on this topic from our panel members. I would like to introduce to you our three panel members for today. We have Flora Kaplan. Hello, Flora.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. You are the social worker who works for Jewish Family and Community Service, Jewish Vocational Service, and the Council for Jewish Elderly. And you do spend time at the Senior Center in the South Side. I don't quite recall the name of that.
It's called the Southside Senior Adult Jewish Center.
Okay, I'm glad we got all of that out. I was afraid I wouldn't remember all of
It's
your
a
multitude of
mouthful.
jobs. And I know you have other roles, and certainly you are an older parent of an adult child, or should say
Yes,
three
three.
adult children. Hello, I would like to introduce Mike Davis. It's really nice to see you. And I know you have many, many roles. You are a retired engineer, and you have adult children, and you do a lot of volunteer work, and in particular at this senior center where Flora works. And so I would like to welcome you to the show, and certainly your role here today is very important as the older parent of adult children.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And last but not least, of course, is Zelda Wise, who also has many roles as a parent of adult children and also the adult child of older parents, so that you're really somewhat sandwiched there in the middle, and we can talk about that. I know you have other roles in the community as a volunteer person, and you do work at a travel agency, if I'm not mistaken. So welcome to you, Zelda. And although your role here is as an adult child, please talk to us from both aspects.
It's nice to be here.
Before we begin on the multitude of subjects that I have in mind, I thought perhaps that the three of you might react to our role-playing situations. What was the one thing that stands out in your mind as you watched it? Sort of a gut feeling.
The main impression I got was apparently the lack of communication. That the two big events that were occurring in their lives, one going away for a vacation for the son, and the mother planning a trip to Israel, apparently neither one of them knew of the others, and there apparently was a complete lack of communication between the mother and her son, and that was amazing to me.
But the mother is always willing to give up her plans, and it usually seems to be the way.
It seems that the mothers always feel that they need to give to everyone else, and they come last. Is that what you're saying,
Well,
Zelda?
they're willing to give up
Okay.
and come behind the children,
Yes, that the
usually.
child comes first.
usually.
All right. Do you think that's a healthy model?
Not always.
We'll get into that a lot more. How about from you, Florida?
I was thinking about the son's attitude and the feelings that he expressed. It seemed like he was giving his mother a double message. On the one hand, he was concerned that she was spending a lot of time at home and in a kind of isolated, what seemed to be kind of a socially isolated situation. And on the other hand, because he knew that she was in that situation, he felt that she would certainly be available, and he had no need to tell her in advance that he might be needing her. So I think that although he was pleased to know that she was going to Israel, he seemed a little bit shocked and possibly disappointed.
For sure.
So really what you're talking about is the communication between the two. Although there was no communication in their plans, they seemed to be able to communicate in the role-playing situation very well. And perhaps that was an eye-opener for the two of them. Did you get the feeling that this was not a good relationship? I hear that because they didn't communicate every plan that this was not a good relationship. Is that what
They
you're
may have
saying?
had a good relationship, but I don't think they got together often enough to know what might have been thinking or doing. Probably the son did not call often enough or keep concern other than knowing his mother was home a lot. But
I
didn't.
think I had kind of a feeling that she didn't exactly know what was going on in his life. She commented that she hadn't heard from them for a long time.
Yeah,
And
that was a comment that they both made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seemed like maybe it was good but kind of distant. I think that was the way it impressed me.
Close in some ways, that they could share some of their feelings. The son certainly was going to think about it, and so was the mother. But what you're saying is that there was something missing. And I wonder, Flora, you know, in your work at the senior center and your work with so many people, is it very common that so many parents and adult children don't communicate well? Don't talk often to each other or relate to each other on that type of basis?
I think it's very common. I think that it's the kind of a problem that probably begins when children become young adults. And as a parent who has gone through that experience myself, as well as a professional person, I can I'm very much aware and cognizant of the kinds of adjustments that you have to make in the relationship that you have with your children. And what I see the most with the older people that I see, and most of them, the ones that come to me for help, are people who are well up into their 80s. And what their feeling is that their children really don't understand what their needs are. Now, in this situation, there might have been a little bit of that. I'm not sure. What do the rest of you guys think about it?
Do the parents sometimes think of what their children's needs are too? Think ahead to it, or do they get to a point where they're thinking of their needs only because they're at the age they are and they want to think that it's time for the children to take care of them?
May I ask you, Zelda, since you raised that in a little different twist from what Flora was talking about, how do you, or what is a good way of letting the older parent know what your needs are as an adult child?
Tell them. They don't always listen, but tell them.
And what is the best way to tell them?
Just communicate, to tell them where you are, where you're at. But then I've got the other side with being in the middle, like you said, sandwiched with a son.
Well, usually younger adults have multitude of problems that they're confronting with. The need to earn a livelihood for their family. They usually have younger children, that they're involved in the younger children and their activities. And the older adults have found themselves in a situation where they have nothing to do, and they usually find themselves in an isolated position where all they can do is think about their own problems, and they usually make demands of the younger children, and the younger children don't have the time or the need to correspond with their parents.
That's a very good point, and may I ask you to go a little bit further in from an older parent's standpoint. What are your expectations, or other people that you know, what are the expectations that older people have for what they want their adult children to do for them?
Well, the older you get, of course, the more infirm you get, and if you live in an isolated, there are the problems of transportation, the problems of fending for oneself or shopping and things like that. And unless if there is physical infirmity that accompanies one, then these problems are multiplied. And there's a need for the older parent to find some way to satisfy these needs. And very often the younger adults are too preoccupied with their own family and their own needs to pay any attention. And with some of the older people, there is a great reluctance to ask for help. And I think as we indicated previously, that the need for communication between the two segments is extremely important.
What about the senior who is well and is still capable of doing for themselves but doesn't want to, and doesn't, you two really have full lives and have gone out and do and are in the community, but the senior that wants to be only part of what their children and grandchildren's lives are and isn't doing for themselves. They're well and they can shop and do the things that they need to for themselves, but don't get out into their own community.
Well, I think that what happens with those people, and I talk to a lot of people that are experiencing that, and the sense that I have of it is that many of them are people that may not have had very active social lives on their own as they were maturing and raising their families. They may have devoted themselves entirely to rearing their children. And what happens is that a person like that then feels that there's going to be a total switch in the relationship, that the children will then want to be involved with them in the same way. And I think that that's what I hear of a lot I hear of doting mothers who gave their all to their child, and now the child wants nothing to do with them. Even though the mother is really able, she doesn't feel emotionally able because she needs to have them around and involved in her life. And sometimes that's the only way, it seems like it's the only legitimate way to ask for their children to spend any time with them, is for them to ask for some kind of a specific service, a concrete need. I can remember when I used to go to visit my own father in a nursing home, and he was up in his 90s, and he was being taken care of. He had lived independently most of the time. The last couple of years he was in the home, and he was not a verbal man. He was not an affectionate man. And when I would come in to visit him, this was the level of the communication. He always had some kind of an assignment for me. Maybe I needed to file his nails or bring him some water. It was some kind of a little chore that I had to do for him. And that was his way of relating to me. And I think that that's what these people are saying to their children, but it's not always understood or communicated in that way.
So what you're saying, Flora, is that many older people don't know how to ask for comfort or support or just to be with the child, but they will have to find an excuse
Right.
To get the child over
Yes.
to the house. What I also hear a lot of us talking about, and of course Jews don't have a corner on this, but we're talking about guilt, I think. I remember every time I offer programs to the community and mention this vignette, or I think it may be called just a saying, that they either chuckle or nod, because this was what their parents always said to them, and that is that a father or a mother can raise 10 children, but 10 children cannot take care of one parent.
Yes.
And so somehow I think as Jews we've always been taught that you take care of your parents, or that you should. And people don't really know how to set limits. And I wonder if you can comment about how can we still be caring and supportive to parents and to children. I think it's both ways. And not have the guilt and not have an unhealthy way of relating to them.
Well, we still haven't completed the transition that's been going on between the extended family that we knew as children, where the grandparents lived in the same home and were well taken care of, and had a real loving relationship with their children and their grandchildren. Now the tendency is for the older people to be isolated into little apartments in various neighborhoods, and the children go off and into their own homes, and they haven't made the kind of transition necessary to establish the kind of bonds that the older people want and need. After you raise a large family, and you're always in the among your children, there's a rapport going on between the family, and then you find yourself alone. And there's that tremendous emotional need, I think, that older parents have, and they haven't been able to express it.
Do older parents, I hear what you're saying, Mike, but do older parents, because somehow they can't satisfy their needs in other ways, come to expect children to fill that gap?
I think they do. They would love to have their children expected, and some of them are, a great number of them, as Flora can testify, feel neglected, really neglected by their children.
Is it
Some
because
do,
they
but-
truly are?
Well, you know, it's a matter of interpretation and feeling. I don't know what is truly neglected. If it's someone who feels emotionally isolated and abandoned by the child, then I guess they experience it as neglect. The children may not experience it that way at all. I would think that if you say they never come around, or they're not even concerned when the parent becomes acutely ill, I would call that neglect. That would be kind of extreme. But I wanted to say something about what Mike said about the parents that want their children to fill their social lives. And I've had some interesting experiences with that. Sometimes a child has the same kind of a feeling about the parent, and they really are so concerned about their parents' welfare, and they have this intense feeling that they really must take care of their parent, that they develop a pattern of always including them in their social life. They go out to dinner, they have a family gathering, the parent is always there. There was a lady who used to work for us at the center. She was a volunteer receptionist, and she had this kind of a relationship. And as she became older and physically less able, she was beginning to really experience it as a burden. That they were taking her to these places where she had to walk long distances, and she couldn't make it, and she had to stop and sit down, which embarrassed her and intensified her sense of deterioration. The children were getting irritated and impatient with her, and it was getting to be a real kind of a problem. So sometimes it kind of boomerangs.
What you're saying is there's a pressure on the older parent to participate more
keep
than
up.
they really want to.
Right.
In some cases.
Yes.
But some of the people that were older, when they were in their 40s and 50s, they had their own social lives, and they didn't all live with their parents at that time, and they were busy and did their social things with their younger children at the time. I don't think some of the seniors remember that they did that when they were the age that some of the children are today. I'm not talking about the total neglect. I'm talking about just the seniors.
You mean you think they don't remember how they lived, that they were lived kind of a life that was separate from their parents?
Yes, I believe they did. I viewed some of it through the years.
True.
I don't think, and they're thinking of their needs today and not where they were when they were the age that their children are today.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've been talking. I have several people that I see that are over 90, and I've really begun to hear from a couple of them that they feel that the children are not responsive to them and they're not available enough. And after we talk about it long enough, they begin to have a recollection of how it was when they were taking care of their aged parent. And then there's a whole sense of regret and sadness that they were not good enough to their parent and they didn't devote themselves enough.
That's an
It's really
interesting,
fascinating.
Sometimes people try to make up for that.
Yes.
And try to
Yes.
become so involved that this really is a pressure. One of the things that I hear quite often from the adult children, they ask, when is enough enough? They don't know how to communicate with the parent. How do they let the parent know that they're interested and they're supportive? Can you tell us and the audience what kinds of satisfactions mean the most to you? How can you really let your children know when enough is enough, or how can you let your parents know?
I wish I knew the answer
I
to
wish
that.
I
That's
knew.
the answer I'm looking for. Because I stop and think, having an adult child now myself, about what's going to be when I'm there in a few more years. I think of both sides of it. I don't know the answers. I sure would like to learn them, but I really don't.
Well, my wife has an aged parent, so we have the other end of the spectrum in our family, and she is in daily communication with her. Every night after dinner, she'll pick up the phone and call her mother, and they spend quite a bit of time exchanging, the usual trivia that occurred during the day, and she does go over and see her once or twice a week, and there's a good deal of communication in this family, and apparently there's no dissatisfaction, and there's a very warm relationship. And I think the answer is the complete communication, or the continued communication between my wife and her mother.
You're talking very interestingly about telephone communication, and I know one thing that's really happening nowadays is this long distance communication, because so many older parents move to warmer climates, or with the mobility in society today, many adult children move away from their parents. What can older parents do really to fill that gap when children are not available?
Yeah, that's a
Do
problem.
things in the community and be involved with other people that have the same needs that they do. Reach out to others.
Or they can maintain long-distance communication.
That helps a little bit, I guess.
Once a week. Once a week the telephone
phone
goes
call.
long distance. Thank God for the new telephone.
But you know, I think enough is enough when it feels comfortable. And when somebody has to ask that question, it's probably because they feel that there are unrealistic demands being made upon them.
Very often one person
Yes.
feels that enough is enough, but the other one doesn't.
Right. The one who's giving may think it's enough, but the recipient doesn't.
Just one or two last comments because time is fleeting. Many adult parents, or I should say many older parents, who thought that they could rely on their children in their older age, nowadays are called upon to really support and to give all kinds of assistance to their middle-aged children. Divorce is prevalent. There are so many things going on in the community that are very stressful, even financially, that so many older parents who felt that, well, you know, I'm older now, I can have my children take care of me a little bit, I can relax. And of course, these roles are also shifting, and I think in our title today on Shifting Roles in Aging Parents, that expectations for older people and things they could not plan on have really changed quite a bit. Is there one last comment on that, and then we'll close?
No, but you see it, business reversals, and the parent doesn't know where to help or how to help or if they can help because they too worry about their own financial concern. But then I've seen that happen, and I've seen many divorced young ladies mostly that have to come back home because they just can't make it today. And the parents didn't think that they would then have to support them, but they do because there's a grandchild involved, and it's.
Thank you. We've raised a lot of issues today. I want to thank all three of you for coming and giving our audience a glimpse into shifting roles with aging parents. I'd like to thank you, Flora, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And you, Mike.
Thank you.
And you, Zelda.
Enjoyed.
Thank you. It was a lovely afternoon.
And I would like to thank you, the audience, for joining us today on this timely topic. Please join us again for our next program. The title is When Adult Children Come Back Home to Live. I look forward to seeing you.